So Ghost in the Hall was a very interesting book. It seemed like it was going to be just your typical supernatural mystery romance story. But then the way that the pacing and the ending were handled was so much different than a normal story. There's not really any way I can talk about this without spoiling everything important about the book. So it's a good book. Go read it and come back to hear this. I really want to talk about the ending and what happened, so I'm going to spoil everything about the book. Fair warning. So this is a supernatural mystery. Our main character, Ward, can talk to ghosts, and that leads to him trying to solve crimes and all that stuff. And throughout the course of the book, he's met a new boyfriend. His name is Mason, and Ward and Mason go off to solve this crime. And it's looking like it's getting near the end of the book. There's a supernatural battle against evil forces. Our heroes are victorious, and the day is saved. But there's still like 2 or 3 hours left in the book. And what happens is our main character, Ward, has been injured. And in almost every magical, mystical story like this I can think of, they have healing magic. And if the hero is injured, they're able to just magically recover. Sometimes it can take up to a couple weeks, but they'll be fine. This story, there is not magical, supernatural healing. And it turns out that our hero has been paralyzed from the waist down. There's a chance he might be able to rebuild some neural pathways, but for the moment at least, he is paraplegic. He cannot move his legs in any way. He is now going to be in a wheelchair. And this is fascinating because then we get to spend the wind down of the book after all the mystery, having him learn what life is like in a wheelchair. And we pivot to that and we see him and his new boyfriend discovering what their relationship dynamics look like. We see him coming to terms with what life is going to look like now. And it was just such a fascinating story. I've read quite a few romance novels that do involve people with some sort of disability, and I like it that that is becoming more mainstream, that those stories are being told more in just like general storytelling. But almost always when we see a protagonist who has some sort of disability like that, they've either had it their whole life or they got it just before the book started and the whole book is about them coming to terms with it. So this was really interesting that it was just a book about an able-bodied person who was going about living his day. He fought his battles, he was victorious, and now he has this problem that he's gotten from this that he's going to have to learn to live with. And it was just a much more organic way of telling this story, and it felt like how someone's life would actually play out. And I loved just the dynamics of that. We had actual consequences to the battle. The things that the evil beings did had actual weight. And then we get to see a person who has had their life changed and now has to adapt and learn and see all the ways that life is suddenly harder. And it's such good representation of people who are not able-bodied and who might have to face the world differently than the average person thinks about. And I loved that inclusivity. It added so many layers to the storytelling. And I think that this is a very positive way to tell a story. And I'm so happy that a book like this exists. And I hope this becomes a more normal thing to see genuine experiences, to see people live their life and then something happens and now you have a disability. And that is the way the world works for a lot of people. And it was just, it made me realize that we never see that in books and movies. And it was such a different way to tell a story. And it's strange that that is a different way to tell a story, because why don't we tell them that way?